Hi, welcome back. I am Miki Hughes. This is Over the Edge. It's a podcast about anxiety where I speak with comedians and people in the entertainment industry about how they are coping during the pandemic. And this podcast is how I'm coping. The longer we go, kind of the crazier some stuff gets. I have with us today very accomplished Danish Anwar. He is the creator of Your Hood's a Joke. I've worked with him a few times. I love that he's come on the show. I've got an entire write-up about him. All of his links are posted at the beginning, and you can also check them out in the comments. He's very, very funny. Here's an example of some of his stand-up comedy.
I actually live in Toronto, a very diverse city, and everybody's from all over the world. It's very common to ask each other, where you're really from, what your background is. Threw me off a little bit because it's considered racist everywhere else, right? But it's very common in the city. And everybody assumes that I'm originally from a broke, homophobic, illiterate, religiously oppressive country. And I'm always like, guys, I'm not American.
Oh, I thought I was bringing him up here. And there he is. Hello. Hi, Danish. We lost your sound.
No, I was just
you're back.
sorry. I was just had a boomer moment there. Kept myself muted to be polite during the intro, and I forgot to unmute myself. So
You can't say boomer moment. You're too young for a boomer moment.
oh, everybody, boomer is a state of mind. Really, anybody can be a boomer. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of, do you want to take away other people's rights? Do you only ever think of yourself? Do you assume everybody's life is as easy as it was for you? Then you're a boomer. You know what I mean? If you have no empathy.
I feel racist with your title as terror suspect, but that doesn't, I'm going to be honest, it doesn't sound very terrifying.
I know, right? It's I mean, I kind of just leaned into the identity that was foisted upon me post 9/11 for a long time. I mean, it's eased up in the last few years because, we're not flying at all. But I got, after 2000, September 11, 2001, I couldn't go anywhere around the world. And any airport, any random city, I was always looked at like, hey, that guy, he's got a backpack. Even one time going to when I first came to Canada, I was doing a show in Quebec, and just that experience of having to deal with the Montreal police going through my stuff on a Greyhound bus of all things. Just like, you think these guys are well financed. They're flying planes into buildings. They're not taking the Greyhound.
What kind of funding do you think I'm trying to cover up here?
Insult you think I'm a broke terrorist of all things? Come on, man.
Flashing your bus pass around. I love it. That's the classic lean into it. Somebody says you're an idiot. I go, yeah, I'm an idiot.
I'll be the biggest idiot ever.
That's right. I will show you. Now it is a mission.
Yeah.
So, you do a little bit of everything. I love your stand-up, of course, and I work with you. How do you feel now? I mean, I want to say it's almost post-pandemic times, but yeah. So how do you feel about where comedy is going for you right now? Because it looks a lot different than it did 14 months ago. What are some of the changes that you predict or that you think that are happening?
I mean, first of all, there's the whole boom in online comedy. What we're doing right now is more of a podcast, right? But just the idea that you can set up a stand-up show from home for other people who want to watch it from home. I don't think that's going to go away completely. It'll probably stick around in some way, shape, or form. I mean, one easy thing I can already see is if you're running a live show, let's say I'm running a live show, tickets sell out, I'll be like, hey, for a reduced price, you can watch this from home. Link will be available after the tickets are sold out. But we don't incentivize people to just stay home, right? Because I'm a live guy. I like having people around me. I like feeling the joke in the moment, changing things around, reacting to people, right? So there's that. There's also the fact that, it changed how people or comedians and producers see outdoors comedy. Because what was the paradigm before all this? That comedy has to be done in basements with low ceilings, dark, because
smells kinda.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you want to do stand up at my apartment is what we want to do, but there's some obviously there's actually, it's not the worst theory, because when you're outdoors the laughs do dissipate, but also there's kind of noises, distractions, people might not focus, blah, blah, blah. But now we've got park shows. I've been doing shows on the roof of my building, literally directly above me. And they actually have been quite successful because people just want to hang out, laugh, and have a good time. So I feel like summer is not going to be such a dead season in Canada anymore for stand-up. That's one, that obviously the online show situation. But also, surprising number of people have quit comedy. So I think that we'll probably see a different talent pool coming out.
Do you think that, and it's just opinion, do you think that they quit or do you think that they'll resurface? Because the only reason why I'm doing this and why I was doing TikTok and why I'm doing all this other stuff is because I was told, if you want to stay relevant, this is going to go on for a while. If you want to stay relevant, you get online.
Right.
So I'm wondering if the ones that have gone quiet are if they're coming back.
Well, I mean, I should, I guess, clarify who I think is going to quit. You want to perform. I want to perform. So I'll find, and you have found, whatever way we can do it, right? I love your TikToks. They're fucking hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
And you have, like a solid following as well. So people enjoy what you're doing. And there are other comics, I'm just going to stick to Canada and specifically in Toronto, I've noticed. I've been surprised by who has leveled up. There are comedians who now are making like short films that are getting picked up all over the place and things like that, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to just say, this is an open secret. There were a lot of people in stand-up comedy who were hobbyists or who were doing it because it was a place to socialize, right? There were comics who had the same 5 minutes they'd been doing for the last 10 years because for them, it's not really about the art form. It's not about getting a different kind of a laugh. It's not about getting better. It's because this was a hangout for them. Oh, sorry. There's that biker gang that we were talking about earlier there.
That's crazy.
You can probably hear them right now. But what I'm talking about are people who were not really in it for the love of the game, right? And there's about 20% easily in Toronto at least.
And I found a love and a passion because I had stage fright. Well, it's different when it's video. I've seen some Zoom shows where I really liked the comedian better than I saw them live.
Yeah.
Isn't that? But I find that some people shine a little bit more in person. This is the introvert's playground, right?
Exactly.
Because I don't have to be out. So you're watching these ones that kind of I'm sort of rising up. I'm finding myself. And so I'm having a lot of fun with it. And most people are still around. I find I'm gonna probably kind of miss it. So I'm hoping that as a producer, comedian as well, that we're still going to be. I want to be the one selling tickets to the live shows afterwards and that kind of thing.
Exactly. We kind of look at it backwards sometimes because we're so inside the industry of comedy. It's kind of like that short story, two fish. You meet each other in the sea. The first fish is like, hey, the water is nice today. The second fish is like, what the hell is water? Right? Yeah. So you're so in it. We're too busy trying to figure out what comedy is going to be or what our place is going to be. It's not comedy. It's people like to laugh. People like to get together and people like to drink. And somebody decided, hey, let's combine those things, have a restaurant and a stage and some bar and some performers. That's not going away. The concept of comedy and jokes is not going away.
And I would be ridiculous if I didn't acknowledge the fact that I've worked with people that I would have never worked with otherwise. I've decided to capitalize on the fact that you're right. People want to perform and they want to stage. And even if it's 20 minutes on a lame little podcast where it's going to, go to a few people, people are willing to do it. I've networked with people I would have never had the opportunity to.
Comedians are not mentally well.
They're not.
We make bad decisions for the crumbs, and we're Canadian comedians, right? So we'll do anything.
And everybody looks so stable. That's also why I'm doing this. Because I will tell you, I was like 2 sheets from the wind in August. I had some touch and go moments in November. Yeah. I was really, really struggling. And I mean, we share a lot of the same friends. We've lost some of the same friends. Yeah. And I see people like yourself just handling everything like a champ. How is your mental health? How are you?
It's pretty terrible now. I'm not gonna lie.
See, I would never guess. I was like, what are we even gonna talk about? He's so together.
I mean, I grew up in like very difficult circumstances. I grew up basically slum adjacent, a refugee in a poor country. Not here. I came here legally. Everybody can relax. But you know, like
Phone down.
yeah, my upbringing was pretty extreme. So this pandemic didn't really bother me at first. I had other things going on in my personal life that were difficult, and it was kind of like, oh, well, at least I don't have to. I can just stay in and deal with things. You know, like the kind of thing that is not really pandemic related. But it was probably this past April when I reached my limit, right?
Did you go to the edge?
I mean, basically, I was just, I was pretty stable the whole time. I was like, look, guys, it's a pandemic. What are you going to do? Write it out, take a break. I personally, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of type A. I do too much. So this is like, I've been doing comedy. If we count the last year, which should count as 2, it would be like, I'm actually like this would be 10 years for me in comedy, just counting the last 12 months as well. And I was pretty happy with the amount of work I've put in up until the point, which was last March, that I didn't feel the need to try and keep doing it. I was like, you know what? The first couple of months I was like, oh, I need a break. I've been like pounding the pavement. I've been like traveling around the world and all that. I'm constantly trying to do something. So this was kind of like a welcome break. And in the summer, I started doing my outdoor rooftop show. It was like, a couple of times a month I could do that. There were some patio shows going on. So it kind of felt like comedy was on this kind of like picnic phase,
You're like Kyle Bergstrasser. He was like, yeah. I like the pandemic. This is all right. I get some time off.
I don't like it. That's not what I mean at all.
Yeah.
I just tend to, I'm accustomed to hardship. So I tend to kind of like, I've got my own system. I just try to deflect it. Kind of like, okay, how can I use whatever part of it I can use?
What have you struggled with then? What would be your, what do you struggle with that? Because you seem to be knocking them all out of the park.
Well, now that's what I was basically getting to, is basically up until April, I was riding the wave. But that's because I was expecting things to basically reopen in April. That's where my mind was at.
Everything is right
there. By spring, and we were right there. They had open patios and everything. And then within 48 hours of opening things, they closed it all right back again. And that messed with me a lot, because I was like, okay, but then now what? The science and the guidance and everything, you just like, ugh. And so I just gave up.
This is when the left and the right sort of came together and went,
we're like, you know what,
bullshit.
Fuck everybody.
Yeah.
We need to go outside. Yeah, because, up until during the pandemic, what I would say the first 12 months, what a strange sentence to say, I even started a news satire show online, where I, like some people writing it together, we'd find ways to film it. But I just even stopped doing that. I was like, you know what? Now I absolutely don't know what's going on. I don't know how long it's going to take. And to be honest, it felt like I was just putting myself under more pressure than I need to. So I just stopped. I went back into what I was like when I was 15. I'm like gaming online. Mm-hmm. I started riding the city bikes, those bike shares that they have. I don't know if they have them up in Thunder Bay. So they've been.
If we did, I wouldn't use it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's like $100 a year. It's the cheapest thing around, because I know if I bought a bike, it would be like a expensive bike that I would get attached to. I would give it a name, and it would get stolen in like 4
I was going to say, you live in Toronto, it would be
exactly. But these city bikes have kind of kept me active. There's all these stations everywhere. You can ride them. I mean, you can pay individually, or it's $100 a year. Fuck that. So that kept me going for a little bit, and that's basically what I've been doing. Like I said, gaming online, watching sports, going on bike rides, and obviously
how's your sleep?
Weed. Hold on 1 second.
I assume that
grab my joint. There we go.
I assume that was crack. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought it was.
My sleep has been sporadic. It's not easy because I'm already a hyperactive person, and then just having to sit around do nothing. I don't really need a lot of sleep right now, because what am I resting from, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's going through the same thing. All of our daily cycles have been completely destroyed.
Yeah, we all think that we're like everybody else, that other people wake up in the morning and go, I should get out of bed. Why should I get out of bed?
Yeah.
Or being hyper productive. Actually, no, people aren't really they're not like us.
No. That's the thing. Just, comics need a way, or the people who choose to be comedians need a way to channel whatever's going on in here externally. Otherwise, it's going to eat you up inside. Right? You just have to let it out.
Yes, and it's just there's been too many of us being eaten up inside, and we need our outlets. It's the ones that we don't hear about for a while. I want to call and check out, the whole check on your funny friend thing.
I mean, people take that as a joke too, right? But to be honest, I don't want a bunch of normies asking me how I am, because if I say what's on my mind, they'll be horrified. But I can tell a comedian all this horrible shit, and they'll be like, haha, is that a bit? I'm like, thank you for listening to it and not being it awkward. And also suggesting a joke. I appreciate that.
Yeah, normal people are concerned and wonder if they should send you a gift basket. Comedians jump on with you, and they're like,
yeah, I would also like to jump off of your balcony. Can we set up a schedule?
That's right.
Or something?
How's it going? Counted the pharmaceuticals to see if I had enough to kill myself.
Yeah,
like, I'm here till Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then everybody laughs. It's our way out. When was the last time? When was the last time you cried? Like, give me some feeling here.
I mean, died right before the pandemic.
Oh, shit.
So I mean, I cried pretty much daily for months after that. And then the pandemic started. So it was just like, God damn it. Oh, same for you. That's yeah.
My dog ran away, so I had 2 months of angst, and then the dog, and then they found parts of the dog.
No,
I know. She's like, "Do you want me to send you pictures?" I'm like, "No, please."
Why? No,
please,
you don't want to remember your dog like that. No,
oh yeah, no. I mean, very recognizable, right? It was like,
that sucks.
no,
that really sucks.
Yeah, same for you. I didn't. So you lose your dog, and I live alone. So it's it's like the world said, go sit in your room and think about what you've done. I was like, no, I'm going to paint the house, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start TikTok.
I'm going to start TikTok, exactly. Like, you have to do something, and I've noticed the way people cope with the pandemic says quite a lot about them, obviously, right?
I think so.
It sucks, but this thing has kind of been, a culling, really. I mean, quite literally. Obviously, older folk, people with immunocompromised, whatever, they've straight up died. It's also thinned out the workforce in general. People have raised their expectations that this is how much money I want in order to be abused at a retail job or at a service job.
There are some great things. Yeah, you're like, I'm not. Yeah, what people are saying now, like, no, I'm not a frontline worker. I'm fucking expendable. Is what you're saying.
Exactly. And what I mean by there's been a culling is that now all these businesses that have been exploiting people for all this time, now they have to get better or they die. You know what I mean? You have to pay your people better, and you have to make sure your customers are in line, and you have to have your employees back, or you're out. You're not going to exist as a business anymore. And
that's right.
Also, like something like 80% of people are rethinking their careers right now. Good.
I am. I'm in finance. I've been doing finance for 22 years, and I've been doing sales, and I'm thinking, you know what? I don't know if I could go back to like the 9 to 5 and punching a clock for somebody else.
Exactly.
So what are you doing after this? Is it going to be back to the same old, or are you going to continue with what you have going on right now? Which, by the way, is you've got the humor for hunger, which is awesome.
Right. I mean, you did the first show, so it's like a 4 not 4 weeks in a row, 4 Wednesdays over the next 4 weeks, 8 p.m. on Facebook, Facebook pages of Barrie Uncovered and Canada's Top Mayor Award, and that's like a comedy fundraiser for food banks. To be honest, this is only the 4th or 5th online show I've done in the last year, because I'm not really a fan, but because it was a fundraiser, I was like, all right, let's do this. This coming Wednesday at 8, it's hosted by Mark Trinidad, and the next Wednesday at 8, I'll be hosting it. But aside from that, once things reopen, I'm probably just I'm gonna get back into doing the things I want, right? Which is to do live shows, perform live, in Toronto. I want to go back to my annual show in Tokyo, which was the last show I did before coming back to I may have been patient zero. Maybe I brought it here. Who knows?
No, I did the last Comedian of the North in January. Like, we were shut down 5 weeks later. So
right.
So I had this great big, I was still riding on the high from that, and I was planning on, I had another one at the Da Vinci set up with Taz Norris, and then everything was canceling. Like, and I waited till last minute too. Like, it was like a week before. I was like, I guess I'll cancel my tour.
I'm full on. I mean, we don't really need to hypothesize. We know what's going on in the States. There's comedy happening. Live comedy is back there. In-person comedy. New York, California, Texas.
I was speaking with Troy Allen. It was the interview I did just prior to yours, and he's a New York comedian in Brooklyn, and they're back to normal. They're not wearing masks. They're not social distancing, and their numbers are lower than ours. So I'm not even going to speculate because I don't want YouTube to rip down another video. I am pro-mask. I am pro-vaccine. Some of the stuff kind of doesn't make sense, but they've been kind of back to normal for a while, and they're not dealing with.
Yeah, because their vaccination rate is very high. That's why their numbers are low, because they're basically vaccinated, right? And we're getting there. I just literally watched a soccer match, Champions League final, which was in Europe, and there was like half the stadium was there live. And Canada has been basically about a month behind this whole pandemic from the start in terms of what phases we go through. So if those guys we'll probably be where they are a month from now, like mid-June. I'm expecting, because like in Ontario at least, they've moved up the timeline for people to get dosed, because now that the US is dosed, they're letting the fucking vaccines out, which was a problem, by the way. They just weren't letting us have it. So by fall, I'm expecting about 80% attendance as before. Like, wow. I'm already planning, like the shows for the next fiscal year, basically.
Yes, I've also linked your website. Like, you have tons of stuff. You have tons of stuff.
I used to have tons of stuff on the website. Those dates are probably from like a snapshot of the last thing I did, the last few shows I did.
Oh shit! I was like, wow, how did you do that? How did you get all?
No, those are 2019, 2020 dates. I had just come back from doing like a week in Japan, and then I had like a few shows lined up in Ottawa, Winnipeg, like a bunch of Canadian dates, and then that's when phase 1 hit. So here we are.
Have you gotten the shot? Are you getting the shot?
I got one shot. I got the first Pfizer shot. Pfizer gang, what?
I got Pfizer over here.
Yeah. I mean, they're German. They know what they're doing. Unless they don't, that's when you're in trouble.
Are they?
But we are expected.
Like, we're so sorry, everybody.
Those are one thing we kind of fucked up. But I got my shot, and in Toronto, the vax rate is pretty high. It's about almost 70% of adults have already gotten their first shot. So we're not really that worried.
You guys were on that emergency list. I mean, we broke out because of a pickleball tournament. You guys got tons of shots because of whatever you guys were doing in Brampton and Peel.
There's just too many people here. And when there's a lot of people, there's a lot of idiots. That's just the law of mathematics, And so when there's a lot of idiots, there's a lot of infectious people walking around doing infectious things. So
you were very pro, like, so you wear your mask, you're getting your vaccine, you're doing the due diligence, you're of the idea that we're having
I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but I have a suspiciously fresh haircut in this video. It is. Now that I look at it, it is suspiciously fresh.
I got a haircut 2 weeks ago, and it was my girlfriend. She's in my bubble. I'm allowed to have one person. So she cut my hair. I'm like, oh my God. And I felt bad. I had like some press on nails.
I gave myself a haircut in that I gave myself the service of a haircut. So there's that. But I'm not. The thing is, I'm a little cocky because one thing that I've had going for me my whole life is my physical health. I have an amazing metabolism. I don't get sick. I don't get tired. I can run for days. I'm just a healthy person. Yeah. So I didn't really think I was at risk. My only concern was I don't want to catch the thing and pass it to somebody who's. That's the issue.
That's what I was scared of too, because I thought, well, I'm a woman, or I have type O negative blood, like whatever it seemed to be like the little bit of the edge was. I seem to have that without pre-existing conditions.
Exactly.
But I would die a small death if I killed somebody's grandmother.
Exactly. That was my issue. So, and to be honest, because of the summer rooftop shows I was doing last year, I was probably around most people than the average person. And I got tested several times during that time, and it was always negative. So I'm like, I don't know, whatever we're doing is working. Scrubbing everything, wearing masks. Have you done any
flying?
Distance? No, of course not. Hell no, absolutely not.
I was in the air. I was flying. I was in the air when the mandatory stuff happened. So because I had to come home. And I got out of it, like, because they were giving fines and whatever. And like, were you traveling? Was it essential? I'm like, I gotta get home. But I remember getting to the Toronto airport, and there was just police presence. There was 6 police officers. You had there was the hotel, and then they whisk you away, and they don't tell you where you're going.
Right.
And I was like, I couldn't. I was like, welcome.
Like, what am I, a journalist in Russia? What the fuck is going on here? Like, this is some KGB level shit. But yeah.
I remembered seeing something like when I was going like it was somebody with like a sandwich and like a half-eaten apple, and they're like, "This is all they're giving us for 4 days." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to Guantanamo." It was the freaking
Fire
Hilton. It
festival
was the
ass.
Hilton. Yeah, but it was the Hilton, and they were so full that I actually got a room in the business section, and they brought up food all the time, and So, but that was insane. I felt bad for anybody else coming through, but
all
I've
that
never
is behind us now.
yeah, I've never said I'm complying so many times.
No, all of that is behind us now because right now we're looking at a blame game. They're trying to figure out which lab in China leaked it. So it's already in the rear view to an extent. The worst of the pandemic is over. Right?
Would this make you feel more comfortable with eating bat soup?
Oh, fuck yeah. I'll eat anything.
Yeah.
I grew up poor.
Oh,
Dude, you have no idea what I've eaten.
like
I've eaten
that
things.
sounds like protein.
Yeah, everything's edible. Trust me. Like,
Really? What's the grossest thing?
I love seafood, and that's just insects of the ocean. And I've eaten actual insects, fried. They're just crunchy and they taste exactly like shrimp. It's So I won't have any problem with bat soup. Bat soup is like toddlers have bat soup.
Yeah.
It's not really,
it might have come from a lab anyway that was like 10 feet away.
That's the current investigation, right? I mean, the only reason I wouldn't have bat soup is because I think bats are kind of cute, and I'm like, no, just for your little face, and you're so cute.
Give me some cow. They're less adorable.
No, that's my problem with beef now too, because I'm like, God damn it, cows are like dogs too. I mean, I stopped eating pork not because of like any religious thing, just because when I found out that they're as smart as dogs, and I'm like, God damn it, I can't eat something that knows it's being killed for food.
I got stuck behind a transport that was carrying like live turkeys.
Oh yeah.
I haven't eaten turkey in 8 years, and sometimes people will call me out at dinners. I won't do it. I won't eat veal, and you know what?
Veal, same.
You mentioned pigs. I accidentally bought veal once, and I ended up giving it to a friend because I'm not going to eat it, but I don't want to waste it. But I cannot consume this.
I'm this close to going vegan. Like if it wasn't that as expensive, like the brown person in me is like, why is it so expensive to not torture animals?
I was a vegan in Vancouver.
Oh damn.
For
That's
6
kind of the law,
years, and
That's
it was a
the law.
long time ago. Yeah, I mean, like you join PETA and you do protests, and that's what you do. That's part of the lifestyle. And I mean, then I became a drunk and didn't care and just ate meat again. But
you just don't want to be part of a cruelty chain.
It's not just that, but I had to I'll go to the extremes with absolutely everything, right? Because then I was technically I can't even take Tylenol because they came to the they use that on, right? So I had to decide what I can wear, what's ethical, what isn't, and I decided that things need to die for me to live.
Right, true.
So
that's just a universal concept, which I'm fine with. To be honest, if I could guarantee that all the meat I'm eating came from I sound like such a fucking hipster, but like a sustainable place where they didn't torture the animals and they just lived and then they were slaughtered.
You're in Toronto.
Humane way. Is that really such an extremist belief that please don't abuse our food?
Could they just not? I would pay more if the chickens could just have a little bit of sun. Could we do that?
They just a normal, just like how it was. Man, how did we get to this point?
I will eat venison. I will eat I love moose meat, bear meat.
You know what? I'll eat
if
any
somebody
animal.
offers me any wild game, I love it because that's what I think. And before
wild
I became
game,
vegan,
exactly. That's amazing.
Anything wild game, I won't hunt it. I won't. I hunt at the grocery store more.
That animal lived its life and then it got hunted and now we're eating it. Not that we as humans trapped it and made it live in this box for 5 years so its meat is tender and then we killed it. That's fucking disgusting. These are sentient beings, and it's
when somebody says something like, "Oh, I just I have to eat meat," or they say they're coming up with they actually have meatless meat, and I enjoy it. And when people say, "Oh no, why don't?" What are you saying? Something has to die for you to you're not going to eat it because because you want it to suffer.
I mean, to be honest, it sounds very dystopian to me. Meatless meat. That we've gotten to the point where we would rather have a synthetic version of something than not torture a goddamn cow.
Yeah.
A
cow at least you can eat one animal is a lot of stuff. right? As opposed to a chicken, which is one animal and like way less, like it's going to feed like far less. So if you're looking at it as
There's like
sentient being.
so many ways of like, I mean, I totally get it. It's like a psychological nightmare because first of all, cows are not even natural. They were domesticated for human use. They don't exist, you know.
Yeah.
Like
The
we
options
made
though
them.
available now are a hell of a lot better. So when I was in
True.
Vancouver, it was a
Yes,
lot of
yes.
sprout sandwiches and a lot of like there was suffering. I was suffering. I was
YouTube's gonna flag this as an eco-terrorist, you know, commune or something, which is not a bad idea. We should start some kind of eco-terrorist commune.
Well, I'm currently on a YouTube ban right now,
Oh,
so
nice.
I gotta be careful. My last two videos got ripped down, so I'm being very, very careful. I did an interview with a comedian that I didn't know was anti-mask. And she was also anti-vaccine. So, I mean, it was just a respectable conversation. It was nothing that you and I have never heard before. And I didn't agree with it, but I'm not gonna argue. You know, I kind of heard her out, respectfully disagreed, made a couple jokes and posted it. And YouTube said, you are spreading misinformation.
Is it available anywhere else?
I took it off. I actually took it down from Facebook. I'm going to repost it edited. And it's actually very funny edited because I have like one of those, like clipboard thing, like it's obvious that it's being censored, right? So it's like snap.
And then
every
a second one for the same kind of reason.
The second one was a TikTok, and you know how everybody's talking, and I'm pro-vaccine, so people were saying that that you become magnetized have you heard that though? Have you heard the magnet one? So,
but it was proven that was faked. Those people who were doing it were faking it.
In my TikTok, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to try it. See what it does. And I put it on my arm, and then I exploded.
That's funny. Really, you're just obviously making fun of something.
That's right.
Yeah.
So because I had two bans back to back, I ended up, I don't know, my account's not in good standing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So tired of hearing that from all these institutions, not in good standing. Bank account, TikTok account, my cell phone account, like not in good standing.
If I get another video pulled off of TikTok, I'm at risk of losing that too.
Oh God, yeah, you got to be careful. And it's the Chinese Communist Party too that indirectly is going to have influence on that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, China. You're all cool. Don't hurt me. So they made John Cena apologize. Right?
So, did they?
Oh my God, that was trending last week because the new Fast and Furious movie. Yes. It premiered in China a month before it's going to premiere here because it's very popular, that franchise in China. Sorry, let the bike gang go off again. But Vin Diesel made a big deal about how China is like family to them, blah, blah, blah. And then John Cena, in an interview, said that, it's going to premiere here. You can watch it. It'll premiere in Taiwan as well. And he called Taiwan a country offhandedly because it is a country.
That son of a bitch.
China does not recognize it as a country. China recognizes it as part of itself. So then John Cena, you just Google the video. You'll see John Cena apologizing like a bitch.
I heard about the apology, but I wasn't even following it. I thought I'm just not going to follow this one because I don't watch Fast and Furious, and I don't really.
Yeah, it just was emblematic of the growing influence that the Chinese market has on the actions of, I guess, artists, performers, movies, whatever you might want to call it, from more socially liberal countries, right? Because a couple of years ago, there was a controversy in the NBA because one of the coaches was pro-Hong Kong, like the pro the protests in the Hong Kong area, that whole thing that was going on. And then China threatened to ban the NBA from China. And then the NBA made a whole thing about how making the coach apologize. Be like, what? He's pro-democracy and you have like now we all have to abide by the rules of, I mean, I might as well move to Beijing then and actually get the benefits of the high-tech society they've built if I'm going to live by their rules, But it was just sad to see John Cena, who, by the way, did his apology in Mandarin because he's learned it over the last decade. And he was like, I'm so sorry. It was just one interview. It was one time. I'm like, oh my, how can you look yourself in the mirror after being such a cuck for the CCP? It was sad, It was sad.
We're using all of the key words. I feel like this is going to get flagged anyway. So let's just throw a few more in there. We got genocide,
Palestine, free Palestine. Throw that in there.
Free Palestine.
Something about the age of consent. I don't know. Like that's a libertarian thing. I don't. I wouldn't really
libertarian. That's another one.
Yeah, there you go. Libertarian.
Social justice warrior.
SJW, yeah. Donald Trump.
Oh,
Alex
yeah.
Jones.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Rape
we'll just,
culture, cancel culture.
We'll just
Bin Laden.
We'll break their filters tonight with this episode. It's gonna overheat YouTube.
It's going to. Actually, I'm still not allowed to post, but when I do post it, this is probably going to be a permanent ban. Last question for you: what would you? And I just ask everybody this at the end. Yeah. So, what would you offer as advice if, say, your friend calls you, it's late, and they're just at wit's end, and they need, like maybe what you do to relieve stress or anxiety in the moment. Somebody's really having a hard time, and they're a fellow comedian. What would you say to them to bring them down to earth and maybe calm the situation?
Generally, it depends on their physical stress level. For me, if they're actually hyperventilating, I'm just like, hey, just take a few deep breaths.
Yeah, they're in crisis.
Exactly. Just chill out. It's happened a few times actually.
Yeah.
So you just kind of like talk them through it. Be like, whatever it is, you just talk them through it. You try not to interrupt it, stop it. It's more like let the water flow, but kind of like direct it in a way. Because a lot of it initially is a physical and obviously like a psychological anxiety that has manifested itself physically. So you just kind of like untangle that tension a little. Just like, okay, what is it? What's going on? All right, this is what you think. This is why you think it. That you're worthless or nobody cares about you or you're never gonna make it or.
Yeah, you just say all that stuff. I know you think you're stupid and you're worthless. And I know you feel just because you've put on a little bit of weight.
Listen, and that joke you did that other day, honestly, you're such a hack sometimes. And
everybody bombs. Comedy is hard. Yeah.
That whole thing.
I actually. Yeah. So I have an anxiety disorder, and it does come out in very physical symptoms. So actually just staying in the here and now. You'd be a good friend to call. I'll call you crying.
It's almost like kind of, how do I say, you kind of like slap them, but gently. Just be like, listen, man, you're not that special. We're all having this exact same problem. And sometimes reminding people that kind of is a way to empathize without being too hokey about it. Right? It's like, this thing that you're feeling, so am I and everybody, because we're all in the same, we're comedians in particular.
Yeah, that's why I say kind of like in crisis, like not like needing a hospital crisis, but I know that as comedians, our knee-jerk reaction is to cheer them up and to make them laugh. Right. No, it's. That helps too. But if somebody's in crisis, you kind of want to first untangle whatever the hell it is that is causing it without like judgment or anything. Just be like, what is it? Just let it out. Blah blah blah. And once you'll notice, at least I've noticed that there's a little relief at the end of that. Be like, oh, now that I've said it out loud to somebody else, it kind of sounds not as bad. It's so hard to pick up that phone, but when it's done, and I know that we deal with comedians that do,
exactly. And then you're just like, look, I get it, blah blah blah. Honestly, the number one thing I've noticed. Now there's a helicopter. I think we're under surveillance. One of the things that I've noticed,
the elderly motorcycle gang is out of control. So.
Yeah, no, there's an actual chopper. They use surveillance choppers a lot here in Toronto when they want to. No, yeah, I mean that's like a real thing. I don't mean like as a conspiracy. This was like actually on CBC, but a lot of times when you see little
something that's
when there's like Cessnas or choppers, they're actually doing an operation where they're trying to pick up on somebody's phone call.
I could fuck with you. I'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't.
Yeah. But yeah, just like if somebody's in crisis, let them let it out. But then also you'll notice that when someone's in crisis, to them that problem is so much more amplified.
Yes.
And then you can kind of be like, I see where you're going with it, and let's say just talk it out. And once they talk it out and let it out, they'll realize it's maybe not. And then you can kind of start to not make a judgment, but pull them out of it.
Get them out of their head.
A lot of times people immediately go into like save mode, be like, okay, whatever it is you're feeling, it's not, you don't have to feel it. No. Let them actually say it to you. And then once they've had that cathartic experience of expressing whatever it is, then you're like, all right. So there's a chance you're being a bitch about this.
Yes.
But you don't really say that way, like I'm saying it for dramatic effect right now. You're just kind of like, okay, cool. I see where you're going with it. I feel the same way. But you're not as bad as you think. You are just focusing on yourself to the point of hyperfixation.
I love it. I'm going to say, like, I talk to, women are very like, I was a very guy response, like fix it, bring it down,
Yeah.
resolve. And it's funny because I'm just finding a pattern here, right? And women
Right.
are very like, I like to relate and explain that I was feeling like that too. So that's no, that's really sweet of you. I see you differently now. I want to thank you very much for being here, and thanks for letting me play your clip. And I've got all of your links going on. And do you have anything else that you want to plug? Is there anything I've missed?
Nah, not really. I mean, smoke more weed, people, and just have a good time. That's all I have to say to that.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. You have a good night.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Later.